Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is Zubeen from paradox to parable. Zubeen Garg's legacy shows how society turns a rebellious, flawed genius into a saintly symbol of collective redemption. In the introductory lines, it is written as in the Catholic Church, beatification marks the official recognition of extraordinary virtue. It is a meticulously regulated process, investigative, theological, evidentiary, culminating in declaration that the individual is blessed. Yet beyond its religious confines, the same yearning to sanctify the departed echoes in secular life. When a public figure dies, collective grief often transforms him or her into a moral symbol. The community, consciously or not, perform its own ritual of beautification. This secular canonization does not require miracles but follows a similar emotional architecture, idealization, purification, and elevation. As the Church verifies miracles to affirm divine favor, society fabricates narratives that affirm meaning. Media retrospective fan tributes and posthumous reinterpretation act as social sacraments sanctifying memory. The process helps to live, cope with loss, reaffirm shared identity, and soothe moral dissonance. The posthumous treatment of Zubeen Garg illustrates this secular beautification vividly. In the wake of his death, grief in Assam spilled into reverence. Social media became a shrine, songs became relics. His portrait, once that of a restless, defiant musician, was reimagined into that of a prophet of freedom and unity. Like a canonized saint, Zubin's human contradiction, his outbursts, and personal struggles were absorbed into a redemption narrative. Every inconsistency became an allegory, every rebellion became a sermon. Even his famous declaration, মোৰ কোনো জাতি নাই, মোৰ কোনো ধৰ্ম নাই, মোৰ কোনো ভগৱান নাই, মই মুক্ত, মই কাঞ্চনজঙ্ঘা. That means I belong to no caste, no religion, I have no God, I am free, I am Kanchanjunga, was reinterpreted as a moral creed and Assamese Mahavakya for spiritual liberation beyond dogma. What had once been a spontaneous act of existential self-definition was recast as a sacred doctrine. Zubeen's afterlife in public imagination embodies a profound paradox, the purification of a figure who never sought purity and the sacralization of a man who consciously resisted every form of dogma. In life, he was fragmentary, defiant, and often contradictory. In death, he has become seamless, exalted, and complete. What began as a restless human journey has been posthumously edited into a moral fable. At the heart of this paradox stands Zubeen's most discussed declaration, Mor kono jati nai, mor kono dharma nai. This was not a rejection born of cynicism, but of a metaphysical instinct, a spontaneous articulation of what the Upanishad called the Atman, the untainted self. The Mundaka Upanishad teaches, as the sun, which is the eye of the whole world, remains untainted by the defect of others, so the one inner self of all beings is not tainted by the miseries of the world. In spirit, Zubeen's Moi Mukta is an intuitive restatement of this doctrine. The mountain Kanchanjunga becomes a metaphor of the self, lofty, solitary, silent, uncorrupted by the dust of the plains. The Katha Upanishad echoes the same image. The self is not born, nor does it die. It is eternal, everlasting, and ancient. Zubeen's truest legacy may lie not in the purity of his image but in the courage of his contradiction, in his refusal to settle, in his lifelong dialogue between rebellion and belonging. Zubeen's voice, once the sound of defiance, now unites nostalgia with moral yearning. His death produced what theorists call a mourning community, a temporary social fusion that resolves grief through myth. The more complex his persona, the more powerfully it serves as a mirror of the society's confusion. In this sense, the beautification of Zubeen reveals as much about the living as about the dead. When formal religion fails to inspire, cultural figures assume the role once held by saints. In the final reckoning, Zubeen's posthumous identity mirrors the ancient process of sanctification. Just as saints are purified by legend, Zubin's image is being reshaped into a moral parable. However, unlike religious beautification, his canonization was unplanned, a spontaneous act of a society seeking its own redemption. He remains therefore both rival and relic, the saint of the secular, whose divinity lies not in miracles but in meaning. His contradictions are not flaws to be erased but evidence of his humanity, the very quality that drew people to him and now fuels his myth. In life, he said, Moi Kanchanjunga. That means, in memory, we have made him the mountain. Thank you and have a nice day.